Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome once again to NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. WWE SummerSlam is now 1 week away. It will be hosted by The Miz, but I want to know where the hell is Jeremy Piven to ban The Miz from hosting the Summerfest? That's what I want to know. But enough of that, let's get right down to your questions. First one today comes from Daniel N. 1995. Hey Aaron, if TNA were to close down, do you think almost all the big names like Sting, Kurt Angle, and Samoa Joe would sign with WWE? Well, I think in Kurt Angle's case, WWE might have interest in him if Kurt Angle has his personal life in order. With all the stuff going around right now with Kurt Angle, the DUI arrests and being in rehab, I don't know if WWE would want to sign Kurt Angle because they'd feel he's too much of a risk because of his personal life and that something bad might happen with him, I don't know if WWE would want to take that chance with Kurt Angle. So, I think if Kurt Angle stayed healthy and had his head in the right place, maybe WWE would work something out with him. As far as Sting goes, I'm sure WWE would love to have him and do something with him. I think that, that would be mostly Sting's decision if he wants to work with WWE, but I could definitely see WWE making a play for him. Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Bobby Roode, though all those guys, I would say maybe, but WWE might not feel that they are big enough stars to put immediately on the main roster. WWE might want them going into the developmental program first, and maybe some of those guys would have a problem with that because they've been in the business for so many years. So that's a big maybe with those guys, and most of the undercard guys, I don't think WWE would be interested in because, WCW was a much bigger promotion than TNA on a mainstream level, and WWE saw value in some of those WCW guys. But with TNA, it might be a different story, and I just don't think WWE would pick up a whole lot of people if TNA was to go out of business. All right, this one comes from Choosers. I read about Goldberg wanting to come back and work as a heel. Would you like to see Goldberg and Ryback team up and go after the Shield, even though the Shield is heels? I think that would be a great match to see. What do you think? Please answer in video. Well, I'm not sure what the deal is with Goldberg coming back to wrestling or having interest in coming back. I think he said something about wanting to wrestle again because his son hasn't gotten a chance to see him wrestle live. But that would be really weird if Goldberg was to come back for his son and be a heel. That would surprise me. If Goldberg does come back at some point, I definitely don't see him being a heel. I just don't think that would be a good idea. And if he came back, the people would cheer for him. They would pop for him. So, people like seeing Goldberg come out and just destroying people. So, heel Goldberg, bad idea. And, I would be very surprised to see it happen. I would be surprised to see Goldberg come back, period. And especially as a heel. All right, next question here from BITW1994. Hey Aaron, if AJ Styles is the face of TNA, how come he doesn't get the type of push treatment John Cena gets from WWE? Please answer in video. Well, I think because TNA doesn't really know how to market and properly push their talent. I mean, that's the easy answer to that question. AJ Styles could have been a whole lot more in TNA, but they really dropped the ball with him several times. The first was when they turned him heel. Any AJ Styles heel turn was a bad idea in TNA. And I remember the one where they had him aligned with Kurt Angle, and they basically turned AJ Styles into this sidekick goofball, and it completely ruined him, in my opinion. I mean, AJ Styles should have been the serious babyface flagship of the company like Sting was for WCW in the 90s. And instead they turned him into a joke. I mean, it was terrible what they did, and they had him dressed up in the turkey suit. I mean, that was such an embarrassment, and how could you do that to one of your top stars, one of the guys that helped build the company? So I wasn't a big fan of that, and then when they turned him heel and put him with Ric Flair and tried to make him the new Ric Flair, I mean, all this stuff TNA did really damaged the AJ Styles character. So, I don't know why they didn't just stick with him as the top babyface and let him be the larger-than-life character like a John Cena, you know, you'd have to ask Dixie, and I don't think you'll get a response. All right, next one comes from my main man, Sam. Hey, Aaron, in retrospect, what did WCW do better than WWF, WWE during the Monday Night Wars? Thanks, and please answer in video. Well, I think that, you know, say what you will about Eric Bischoff, but he was a little bit ahead of the curve, and he was taking WCW and bringing it up to modern standards. You know, WWE in the mid-90s was still stuck in the 80s with the Doink the Clown and all the cartoon characters, and that's not what people wanted to see anymore. They wanted to see more realism in storylines, and you know, and they wanted to see athletes from other countries. They wanted to see a variety and you know, something different in the ring. So, you know, Eric Bischoff brought in guys from Mexico, brought in guys from Japan. So, I mean, that was one thing he was doing. I mean, he was innovative in a way. And even though he was using other people's ideas, you know, like the stuff from Paul Heyman and ECW, you know, Bischoff was bringing Public Enemy, bringing Sabu, doing the tables and all that. And, you know, the NWO was based on an angle in Japan. But, I mean, Bischoff was introducing all this stuff to an American audience for the first time. So, I mean, that was one thing Bischoff was doing. And meanwhile, WWE was still stuck in the late 80s with their product. So, I mean, that's really the stuff that WCW did that put themselves ahead of the game for a while. All right, this one comes from Jordan, ACA Stir C. Hi, Aaron. What did you think of Scott Steiner's WWE return in 2002 at Madison Square Garden? And how do you feel about his run in WWE after that? Well, I absolutely loved the debut in Madison Square Garden. Perfect place to have him come back because it is MSG. It's all the hardcore wrestling fans, and they went absolutely nuts for Scott Steiner. And, you know, he got on the mic, give me the fucking mic. And, you know, that was just hilarious, and, you know, I loved it. I thought that was, you know, a perfect way to bring him into WWE with the Big Papa Pump character. But then it was all downhill from there, and, you know, the Scott Steiner Triple H match at the Royal Rumble was a huge disappointment, one of the most disappointing matches of all time. And then, you know, Scott Steiner kind of just got lost in the shuffle, which was unfortunate. But, yeah, I mean, I wish his run had gone better than it did, but, you know, things happen. All right, this one comes from AIC 1993. Hola, Aaron. What did you think of Alberto Del Rio getting rid of Ricardo? Do you think he can do the gimmick without him? I was a little bit surprised by that, although it has been 3 years, and I can't believe it's been 3 years that those two have been together. I mean, that's been a long time, but it doesn't really feel like they've been a duo all that long. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I mean, I think both guys need each other. I mean, you know, Ricardo has always been a big part of Alberto Del Rio's act, and I'm not sure what you can do with Ricardo on his own. I mean, you know, he doesn't really have the physique to be a full-time performer, I don't think. But, you know, people associate him with being a manager, so I'm not sure how you could transition him into a wrestler. It's like with what's his name? Umaga's manager, Armando Estrada. You know, with him, he did so well as a manager, but then when they actually tried to have him wrestle, you know, it just didn't work, and then they ended up releasing him. So, yeah, I don't know if this is good for Ricardo's future. I don't know if this is a good sign. But yeah, I think the two of them are best together. So I don't know what's going to happen, and you know, I don't know what's going to happen with Del Rio. You know, you know, it has been 3 years though, so I mean, it's been a while, and you know, at some point you got to split them up and do something different. But you know, Undertaker and Paul Bearer were together for 6 years, so I mean, maybe you could have kept these two together for a bit longer. I mean, I would have at least kept them together for the time being, just because you know, it's a package deal with them. With the hype around WrestleMania 30, I think WWE has the talent for the mid-card to steal the show. With all the star power, any chance Cena steps down and takes on a newcomer, like Wyatt or Ambrose? I think it's unlikely because at WrestleMania 30, WWE is going to want to put John Cena in with the absolute biggest name possible. You know, it's all about making money to them. You know, they're not going to try to create a feel-good moment for the IWC, John Cena versus Dean Ambrose. The only way that that would even be conceivable is if Dean Ambrose, between now and WrestleMania, becomes this huge superstar at a Stone Cold or Rock level, and the chances of that are unlikely, with all due respect to Dean Ambrose. I mean, he's a great talent, might be the future one day, but I don't see him reaching that level by WrestleMania, and if he's not at that level, they're not going to put him in a key position on the pay-per-view because they want to go with the biggest marquee names that will attract the mainstream audience. All right, this one comes from Michael Bell 50. Hey Aaron, love the show. Thank you for that. Long-time listener, first-time asker. What do you think of this as a finish for Cena and Bryan? Bryan puts Cena in the yes lock, and instead of tapping out, Cena passes out to lose the title. It means he loses but never gives up. I definitely see that as a possibility. That's certainly a way WWE could get out of this match without having to make Cena look really bad. By passing out, he doesn't come off, bad by tapping out or whatever. So, I could see that happening. The big shock to me would be if Cena tapped out. And Bryan making Cena pass out is a possibility. Vince trying to interfere and maybe even costing Bryan or somehow helping Bryan win. I mean, that seems like a more likely outcome to me. All right, one more here from Jerome Inc. Who do you think in today's wrestling world would be a great trainer for the younger talent? Well, if you're talking about active wrestlers in today's WWE, they could one day become a great trainer. I mean, a lot of people would say William Regal. I would say somebody like Chris Jericho, somebody who's had a tremendous amount of success and somebody who has all the attributes, somebody who's a great in-ring performer, somebody who is a great talker, somebody who's a class act outside the ring. I mean, Chris Jericho is the perfect candidate as somebody who can really help out the younger talent, and he can set a perfect example of how to be a great sports entertainer. So, I mean, Chris Jericho would be my top pick, and guys that are similar to Chris Jericho, guys that have all the attributes, that really have all the years of experience and have been at the very top of the mountain. So, Jericho and, if Shawn Michaels, even though he's retired, get him involved. And some of those guys, maybe Undertaker once he's done. I mean, Undertaker would be great. I think Undertaker would be able to, he's had such a long career, and he would be able to give a lot of good advice to some of the up-and-coming superstars. All right, that'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Subscribe, youtube.com/NoDQCAW. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for all the latest regarding SummerSlam. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/NoDQ.DOTCOM or at Aaron Rift. I will be tweeting from the Staples Center for the 5th consecutive year, so stay tuned for that. And I'll see you guys next time for more NoDQ&A video.